Ever wondered what the original indigenous names of the Caribbean islands were? You know, the names that the Amerindians had for them before they were rediscovered by the Europeans. In this video, we'll look at those names and their meanings. Okay? So stay tuned. So I'm very excited to present to you original indigenous names of the Caribbean islands and their meaning. Okay, a little history and context before we get started. The Amerindians. That word Amerindians is a blanket term for American Indian, used to cover anything from the North American, Caribbean, South American tribes that lived in the Americas. They existed in the Caribbean for over 4,000 years. It is thought that they migrated from South America through the Orinoco River to Trinidad and up the archipelago chain. There were two major groups, the Arawak or Taino, hunter-gatherers, and a little more peaceful. What came after them was the Caribs, also known as the Kalinago, which was considered to be much more warlike. Now they also came from South America and migrated up, and they only reached around St. Kitts by the time the Europeans arrived. So that kind of gives you a language border. Everything St. Kitts and down has a Carib oriented name, and everything above has a more Taino or Arawak name. So let's get into the meat of the matter. First island we're going to start with is Cuba. Cuba might be named after a town called Cuba in Portugal, but I think that it is too close to its original Taino name for us to assume any other thing, that it's a derivative of its original Taino name, which is Cubao. Now, forgive me for these pronunciations. I'm trying my best to pronounce phonetically the words, and of course, the Trini accent puts its own flavor on things. Cubao means, in the original Taino language, where the fertile land is abundant. And right under Cuba, we will get Jamaica. This one is pretty easy because I think most people would know that Jamaica is actually derived from its original Taino name, Xaymaca or Xaymaca. If we say that long enough, we could realize over time how it would get corrupted somewhat. Xaymaca or Xaymaca, I've heard it pronounced both ways, means land of wood and water or land of springs. And of course we have Hispaniola. Now for those who don't know, Haiti and the Dominican Republic exist on one island, and the entire island is referred to as Hispaniola. Now this island had two Taino names recorded in history. One was Haiti, which of course became Haiti, and that means rough mountains or mountainous region. The other name recorded was Quisqueya, which means mother of all islands. So Haiti and Quisqueya. And right next to Hispaniola is Puerto Rico. Now Puerto Rico means rich port in Spanish, but its original Taino name was Boruquin. Boruquin means, let me see here, land of the valiant and noble lord. Interestingly, Boruquin has not been lost to history. Anyone with Puerto Rican heritage could be referred to as Boricano, which refers back to that Taino name for the island, Boruquin. Then we have Anguilla. In some form of older Spanish means eel, and its original Taino name was Malehawana. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it means arrow-shaped sea serpent. Saint Martin. Now we're talking about the entire island of Saint Martin and not the different nations, because as you know, Saint Martin is split between the Netherlands and France. And it is said that Christopher Columbus named this island after Saint Martin of Tours because he spotted it on November 11th, which is dedicated to that saint. But the original Taino name was Solaega or Aulichi, which means land of salt. As you can tell, I've been naming the islands from the top come down, and from now on all the names will be Carib, because it's at this point where the Europeans came and the Carib was on their way up the island. So this is that language split we talked about earlier. That brings us now to St. Kitts and Nevis. Two islands but one country. Now St. Kitts, whose formal name is Island of St. Christopher, its original Carib name was Layamiuga, which means fertile island. And then now we have Nevis. Nevis is named after the Spanish phrase Nostra Senora de las Nieves, which means Our Lady of the Snow. The Carib name was Aole, which means land of beautiful waters. I love the sounds of these things. Layamiuga, Aole. It sounds exotic, you know what I mean? Then we have Montserrat, which is named after the Virgin of Montserrat in the Montserrat Mountains in Catalonia, Spain. Its original Carib name was Aliaguana, which means land of prickly bush, and the iguana. Antigua and Barbuda. Now Antigua means ancient in Spanish, and its original Carib name was Walidi, which means land of fish oil. Walidi. Then we have Barbuda, which means bearded or the bearded one. Its original Carib name was Waumoni, which means land of herons. You know, herons like the bird, land of herons, or land of large birds. Waumoni. Guadeloupe, which is named after the Virgin Mary, venerated in the Spanish town of Guadalupe. Its original Carib name was Carohira, which means island of beautiful water. Carohira. Dominica. It is said Christopher Columbus named this island Dominica after the Latin word for Sunday because that's the day he spotted it on. Its Carib name is Waitakobuli, which means tall as her body. Waitakobuli. Now the name Martinique evolved from the original name given to the island, which is Martinica or Madonina, which means island of flowers. There are claims that Madonina is a Carib name, but it is very close to Martinique, so we're not too sure about it. But there is also evidence that it is called, now forgive me, this is very difficult for me to even try to pronounce, Yawanasiera or something along those lines, which means island of iguanas. But this might also refer to St. Lucia. Now we have to remember a lot of this language was not written. Some things might be mixed up and some of the islands are very close. And that of course brings us to St. Lucia, which of course is named after the St. Lucia of Syracuse. The Carib name for St. Lucia has been noted to be Hawanara, and that also has a meaning of land of the iguanas. Again, what I gathered is that the islands were so close to each other, and because none of this was really written down, there might be some mix up. It's not definitive. And now we have St. Vincent. Christopher Columbus named it St. Vincent because he discovered it on the 22nd of January, which is the feast day of St. Vincent of Saragossa. The Carib name is Hierauna, which means land of the blessed. And then we have Grenada. It is said to be named after the town of Granada, which is located in Spain. Its original Carib name would have been Camahoj. Again, I'm not sure of the pronunciation and we're not sure of the meaning. Anybody knows the meaning of Camahoj? Please let me know in the comments below. Barbados, derived from the Spanish word meaning the bearded ones, very similar to Barbuda, Barbados. You see the similarity? Its original Carib name might have been, again, this is a tongue twister, Ichiro Guanaim. Now the possible translation means red island with white teeth, and that refers to the coral reefs. And of course, that brings us to my home country, Trinidad and Tobago. Now, Tobago does not have another recorded name in history. It was always somewhat referred to as Tobago. It is said that it means tobacco pipe. The word tobacco comes from a native Amerindian word sounding very similar to Tobago. Last but not least, Trinidad. Now the full Spanish name for Trinidad was Isla de la Trinidad, which means the island of the Trinity. It is so named because Christopher Columbus, when he set out on his third voyage, promised to name an island because it's his third voyage after the Trinity. And there is also a myth around when he approached Trinidad from the south, he saw what is today called the Trinity Hills. It has 3 peaks, and he said, Island de la Trinidad, you know, island of the Trinity. And there are 2 recorded indigenous names for the island. There is Iri or Iri, and it is said that that means land of the hummingbird. But historians believe that was a corruption of the actual name, which was Kiari, which simply means island. And if you think about it, Trinidad would have been the first larger island they came across as they exited the Orinoco to go up the Caribbean. So they called it the word they had for island, Kiari. Now I for one really love that name, Kiari. We shouldn't forget these names. I think it's terrible that a lot of people actually don't know this history. That is one of the reasons I'm making this video. I am shocked that we don't learn these things in history from primary school. It is our history and we should be proud of it. And it's something that we should actually start to teach a little more. So therefore people is more aware of these names and not be so Eurocentric with how we teach our history. Please leave comments, tell me what you think, tell me if you found this video interesting. As always, I want you guys to support this channel and it's very easy, you know, leave a like, leave a comment, start a discussion, and of course, subscribe, okay? I have other ideas around similar topics, and if you guys are interested, please let me know if you want me to continue along these lines. And of course, until the next one, I'll see you guys.